Hey, it's Melanie, and welcome back to Let's Make Your Homestead. This morning is Good Friday, which for us gardeners mean that it is time to plant. My goal today is that I'm going to plant some potatoes, garlic, and onions. I did bring my seed bag out here just in case I wanted to go ahead and direct sow some things. But if not, that's okay too. We do still have some things to do in the garden as far as some light weeding before I get everything planted. And then once I have all that done, I'll have my seed bag out here, and if I feel like go ahead and direct sowing some other things, I will. Now, I did do some research on Good Friday this morning just because I was inspired by the day, and I found some interesting information that I wasn't aware of. So I knew it was a Christian holiday. I also found that there's some superstitions behind it as well. One of the things that I read this morning said that they thought that if you disturbed the soil, that the ground would bleed. Like, isn't that such an interesting superstition that people have? I mean, obviously, a lot of people, have different superstitions, and that's totally fine. Or I just never heard of that, and I don't know why. Well, probably because it is Good Friday. That I was doing some research on it and just doing some little light reading on it this morning, because I knew about Good Friday. It's the Friday before Easter, and just I was trying to find out what exactly makes it good. And then I was reading about the Christianity aspect of it, and then as I was reading through it, found the superstitions for it, and it just really intrigued me. People would say that if you're gonna plant potatoes on Good Friday, I mean, just like I am, that you would have to cleanse the ground with holy water. And then, of course, I was like, wow, just what people thought back then, and apparently it was because potatoes just weren't a native crop. But it's so funny, how different superstitions are even connected to our food, and that's just, it's very wild and interesting to me. I like to read sci-fi things, paranormal, historical fiction, different genres. There's not much in this world that I won't read. I'll read a cookbook. I did it the other night. I'll read gardening, homesteading books, fairy tales, dragons. It doesn't matter to me. As long as I'm interested in it, I'll read it. But just going down that rabbit hole this morning, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. What people thought back then about Good Friday, and of course now in modern day times, or it's because the soil is ready and good to start planting these crops, and it's still cooler in the evenings for them, but it still gets that wonderful sunshine that's warm during the day. Now, I am planting my potatoes today. I will not be using holy water, but I do have two different kinds. I have some red potatoes that I'm gonna try out because my friend, she let these just sprout in her pantry. Not on purpose, but it happened. So I am just putting them in the garden and see what happens. It's kind of like a like a small experiment that I'm doing, and I'm sure she'll think it's fun too. Her and one of my other really good friends, we were all meeting up one day, and she said, look, I've got these potatoes that sprouted. Do you want them? And I'm, yeah, I do actually. You know, just, you know, try it out. Why not? You know, worst thing that happens is that it doesn't work. I am gonna do some companion planting in here as well. A few more reds. I need to look. I think it is onions that I can do with my potatoes. Let me double check that before I plant them. And then I can do garlic with my carrots. And that'll help, like, whichever way it works. I'll let you know for sure just a bit whenever I can read up on it. But they deter like the pests that come after potatoes, and it becomes beneficial for them. I'm just even spacing because I'm going to do red potatoes in one bed, and then I'm going to do my regular like gold potatoes in another bed, and then I'm going to save those round pots, the big round pots that we have, that I was originally planning to do just one batch of potatoes in, but now I have 3. Such is life for a gardener. And that'll be just for sweet potatoes. Now, I went to grab my sweet potatoes to go ahead and plant them as well today, but they have not sprouted, so I'm not going to plant those today. I'm just going to be doing my reds, my regular yellow potatoes as well, and just, you know, go from there, see what else we can accomplish in here. The sweet potato thing, I was like, oh no, you know, I wanted today to be my big like sweet potato planting day, but that just didn't work out for the sweet potatoes. And you know, that's actually fine because our back fencing over here, I still need to run the wood chips in over it, so that kind of, you know, buys me a little bit of time to say I've got to get that mulch, and hopefully by the time we get that mulch with those wood chips, they'll be good to go. I did not cut these potatoes. I'm just doing them whole. As you see, some of them have some really good sprouts on them already, and I'm just going to cover them lightly. And I'm actually going to do leaf mulch on these. Now, this is super simple. You don't want this to be super thick, which it's not. You want these shoots to be able to break through this ground, and this is so loose. So this is going to be just fine, but you do want to make sure that your entire potato is covered, because if the sun reaches them, they will turn green and they will rot. And nobody wants that. The goal here is to have potatoes, not to have them rot. Now, I will know that this middle row is where I'm going to plant either my onions or my garlic. That is it for planting potatoes. How easy is that? I've got a few pieces of garlic here, and I've already broken one up. So when you're planting it, this is the part that the root is going to come down, and this is going to become the shoot at the top. And you want to get this in there. Make sure you have some adequate spacing. Read your seed packet, or ask somebody that knows. On here, it says, look, we've already got a little bug. It says dig a hole 2 to 3 inches deep in a sunny location. We're in a sunny location. I can do 2 to 3 inches deep. Break it into individual cloves, which I've already done. Pointed end upwards, cover with soil water thoroughly. So, like I said, pointed it up. So, reach towards the sky is where you want this one. So, I'm going to go right down in this ground. I'm just literally pushing it in the soil. Pointed that up, straight in. Now, I do know that a lot of people prefer to, an ant, to only save the bigger cloves on this and plant those, but I'm just gonna plant everything because I'm not upset with small garlic, I'm not upset with big garlic, medium-sized garlic. It doesn't bother me what size it is. I love garlic. So garlic is garlic, big or small, and I will be happy with it no matter what. Something else really good about planting garlic and potatoes together is because the garlic is not going to compete with the potatoes, and garlic will have a natural fungicide that'll keep our potato plant healthy. Now see, this is a smaller one. We're gonna plant it anyways. It's probably a little bit too deep. There we go. See, I'm just kind of, this is another thing you can tell is this is your roots from your garlic. So that's another good indication if you can't remember. Just don't pop them all off at the same time. And you can leave this skin on or you can take it off. It does not necessarily matter. It will sprout either way. And see, you can plant it with or without it. Some of these are dry, but I'm gonna plant them anyways. You know, if you don't know, just plant it. Something will happen or won't, and you will know. Gardening is probably one of the funnest little experiments you'll ever do, because you never know. Each season's different. You know, the garden is different every year. You're doing something different every year, and every year you're learning. So by no means am I an expert gardener. I'm not. You know, I've been doing this on my own for the last few years. Really hitting it hard probably the last 3 years. But I grew up, you know, in the garden with my grandparents. My mom gardens. I can't say that gardening didn't come natural to me, because it did. I was very much raised where that's what we did during the summer. You would run through the cornfields at your grandparents' house, you know, and you know, you would have blisters on your fingers from shelling peas and butter beans and snapping green beans, and it's just how it was. And I realized that maybe I had a childhood in that sense that not a lot of people had, and I'm appreciative of it now, even though I wish I had taken the time to really sit down and go, okay, how do you do this? Because now my grandmother was a gardener, and she loved flowers, and I do feel like I get a lot of that from her, but it also comes from my mom. because for as long as I can remember, my mom's always had a garden. And we didn't have a lot of land growing up. Probably, I don't remember how much it was, probably an acre or acre and a half. It wasn't large, but she always had a garden, and you know, she took care of it. And I look back and I remember her trying to like overwinter tomato plants. My dad went out there because she had all these tarps and things like that, and he's like, "What are you doing? This looks terrible." And she was really upset. But now that I garden myself, I'm like, yeah, like I could see what she was trying to do. And I could appreciate that, because I myself have been like, you know what, I wonder if I can extend this a little bit longer. Red potatoes and our garlic planted. Really excited about that. Really excited about that. Now, I did have a plan. I have a garden plan that I literally sat down and I was like, okay, this is what we have, you know. Added in, you know, the fact that we have 12 more spaces to grow. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 more spaces to grow. So it's 12 more spaces than what we did last year. That is amazing. It is insane to me to think of what this garden is going to look like in the next 7 months. And I think that it's going to look great, and I'm really excited for that. But I have this garden plan. I was on my iPad, and I have like a cheap like iPad pencil. It's not Apple or anything. It's something I got at Walmart. But it works, so I'm happy with that. Well, I couldn't find it, and so last night I was looking for like a pen that had like a stylus on it, and I found one, and it didn't have like the thin stylus point on it. It had like the thick one. And so as I was trying to look at my garden plans and see if there was anything I need to adjust or add, I deleted the whole garden plan. The whole garden plan. I was really upset about that. Still kind of am. So I tried to kind of wing it last night and say, okay, like this is, because I didn't feel like getting up and going to get my seeds and things like that. And so I was like, I know this is what we want to plant, but I can't remember where we said we were gonna plant it, and now I'm just winging it. So luckily I have a video that as I plant things, I'll be able to remember what they are. Feels a little bit like chaos gardening, but it's not. It's just an unfortunate thing that I did. So we are going to move on to our other potatoes and our onions. Okay, now that we have planted those other potatoes, we are going to move on to our onions. Now these are pretty simple. You're going to take this, see where the roots are going to come out, and you're going to stick it directly in the ground. Alright, it is that simple. And I am planting these with those with potatoes, the yellow potatoes. I'm sorry, this one's starting to sprout. Now you want to make sure that you plant these and give them some room to grow, especially if you want those big bulbs. So easy, y'all. I'm just putting them right on in the ground. And my goal for this is I would like to have some to preserve. I want to be able to make one of the onion braids. I think they're so pretty. I think that would be so cool to have hanging up in the kitchen. Small victories, huh? Let's get these planted. Now that we have our onions, garlic, and potatoes in the ground, I am going to go ahead and direct sow some bush beans. Or I have these beans from Baker Creek. And I am going to put some of these in our new rows. I don't know how many rows I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of see how far these beans will go. We have our corn planted because I just went ahead and spur of the moment was like, you know what, let's go ahead and direct sow some corn. So I have it right over here, if you can see that. And I also did 4 rows of the Baker Creek bush beans. We got our potatoes, our reds, and our yellows, as well as our garlic and our onions in the ground. And it feels so good. It feels so good to have this extra space to grow, and it feels really good to finally be out here and have something in the ground. So I'm gonna get all this watered in. We are gonna go in and we are gonna have some lunch, enjoy the rest of our day. One of the other superstitions I read was that you would have a bad harvest if you planted on Good Friday. And so I'm only gonna work half a day in the garden, and we're gonna heed that warning. Really, we're just gonna go and we're gonna do some other things, but we're gonna stop here for the day after we get this watered in and enjoy the rest of our day. Get ready for Easter weekend. Y'all have a wonderful day, have a wonderful weekend, have a wonderful Easter. Happy homesteading.